The engines ticking after shutdown was the only sound breaking the sticky summer silence. The air clung heavy, restless, like it couldn't decide whether to move or stay. Emily, my wife, sat beside me, adjusting her brace before reaching for her cane. We just returned from her physical therapy. She was exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that seeps deep into your bones. But before we even made it up the driveway, there she was, Karen, hair sculpted into that towering, sprayed-on halo of suburban authority, lips pressed tighter than a vault, clipboard gripped like it could launch missiles. She planted herself at the edge of our lawn, well, the half-inch of it that apparently violates HOA section for B-grass aesthetic consistency, she said, her tone slicing through the heat. I kept my voice neutral. Afternoon. She didn't respond immediately. Her gaze flicked past me to Emily, who struggled to balance herself. That disapproving look, the one that made you feel smaller than you were, flickered across her face, like instinct. You've been warned twice about that ramp, Karen said, tapping the clipboard. It's not HOA approved. The wood tone doesn't match neighborhood guidelines. I looked at her, then at the ramp, the very one I built so my wife could enter her own home without being carried. It's not decorative, I said. It's for her wheelchair. Karen exhaled, as if disability were a personal inconvenience. Rules are rules, Mr. Dalton. If it's not removed by Friday, fines will follow. Emily's voice quivered, soft and pleading. It's just a ramp. Please. But Karen had already spun on her heel. Clipboard snapped shut. Heels clicked down the sidewalk, a metronome of authority. I watched her leave, the sky behind her darkening, clouds heavy and low, like the universe itself disapproved. If I'd known then what she was capable of, well, things might have been different, because 2 days later, that clipboard became a weapon. And Emily, she never made it inside again. The storm hit that Friday evening, fierce and sudden, as if the sky itself had a message. Wind rattled the gutters. Rain pounded the siding like impatient fingers. Emily was on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, resting her legs. I was in the garage, tightening the final bolts on the new railing I'd built for the ramp. Then the sound shattered the rhythm. Not thunder, not rain brakes squealing sharp. Tires on wet asphalt. A door slammed. Karen, umbrella tilted like a shield, clipboard in hand, her HOA badge gleaming under the porch light, strode through the rain toward me. Mr. Dalton, she called, voice cutting through wind and storm. I told you to remove that structure. I set the wrench down. It's a ramp, Karen. For my wife. You call it a structure like it's an eyesore, but it's a necessity. She stepped closer. Raindrops slid off her umbrella. You think you're special? Every time someone bends the rules, it starts with a reason. Then the neighborhood looks like a junkyard. I opened my mouth, but she cut me off. You had your warnings. The board voted this morning. Removal order issued. Emily must have heard the commotion. The door creaked behind me. Please, she whispered, voice faint. Just leave us alone. Karen turned, and for the briefest instant, her face shifted. Not anger. Something colder. Satisfaction. You people think you're above everyone else because your husband plays soldier, she said. Not here. Stepped forward. Watch it. Her expression didn't waver. You have until tomorrow morning, or I'll handle it myself. And she meant it. The next morning, I went for coffee, only to find the ramp gone, torn apart. Nails and splinters littered the wet concrete like war debris. Emily stood at the door, staring. She took a shaky step outside, cane trembling in her grip, and then the thud. Her body hit the pavement, motionless. The world fell silent after the scream. You don't really hear your own voice in moments like that. It tears itself out of you. Rain soaked her through. Cane a few feet away. I dropped beside her, hands shaking, fumbling for 911. The dispatcher's voice blurred with the storm. Sir, stay on the line, she said, but I couldn't hear her. All I could see was Emily's chest barely rising. It's pale. The paramedics arrived fast, almost too fast, like they already knew where to go. Maybe because Karen had called them too. She stood across the street, arms folded, umbrella up, face unreadable. When the EMTs lifted Emily onto the stretcher, she didn't even blink. I followed them to the ambulance, numb, soaked through, watching red lights flicker across Karen's manicured nails as she made a show of dialing someone on her phone. Probably the HOA president, probably bragging about enforcing compliance. At the hospital, everything blurred. The antiseptic stung. The flat beep of the heart monitor felt surreal. The doctor's quiet words cut through it, all the words no husband ever wants to hear. Massive head trauma. She slipped. No. I corrected myself in my mind. She didn't slip. She fell because the ramp was gone. When the police arrived to take my statement, they were polite, detached, like this was just another neighborhood accident. Sir, the HOA claims the ramp violated local code, one officer said, almost casually. They were within their rights to remove it. They killed her. I said nothing. He scribbled notes without meeting my eyes. We'll file it under accidental death for now. As they left, I caught sight of Karen outside the window, chatting with one of the officers like old friends. Then she looked at me and smiled. That tiny, smug curve of her lips branded itself in my mind. An hour later, when they unhooked Emily from the monitors, I sat beside her, holding her hand. Still warm. Still her. I promised her I wouldn't let it end like this. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my brother-in-law, a Navy SEAL stationed 2 states away. He'd heard what happened and was already on his way. I hadn't even left the hospital parking lot when I saw his truck matte black, engine growling low like a predator. James stepped out, rain plastering his soaked jacket, eyes sharp and assessing. He wasn't the type to waste words. 12 years in the Navy had stripped that out of him. He walked straight to me. No hug, no hesitation. Just a hand on my shoulder. She's gone? He asked quietly. I nodded. He glanced toward the neighborhood, a smug little kingdom under HOA rule. Then let's go. The drive back was silent except for the windshield wipers scraping across the glass. My mind replayed Karen's smile over and over. James's jaw tightened with every mile. When we pulled into the cul-de-sac, Karen was already outside. Somehow, she knew we were coming. Porch light flicked on like a spotlight. There she was, clipboard in hand, as if it could shield her from justice. Mr. Dalton, she said, voice dripping fox sympathy. I heard about your wife. Such a tragedy. But maybe now, the property can be brought back into compliance. James stepped out before I could respond. Calm, controlled, dangerous. Are you the one who removed the ramp? He asked. Karen sniffed. Prim. I enforced the regulations. Yes. The community voted. He took a slow step forward. So you made sure a disabled woman couldn't get into her own house, and you're proud of that? Her chin lifted, cold and unflinching. It's not personal. It's policy. He studied her silently. The kind of silence that thickens the air. Finally, he said, policy killed her. You killed her. Karen laughed nervously. You can't talk to me like that. Then came the sirens. Police cars rounded the corner, lights slicing through the rain. Not for him, for her, because while we were at the hospital, a neighbor's security camera had gone viral, showing Karen's hired landscapers dismantling the ramp while Emily was still inside. Orders, laughter, her face, every second captured. I watched the officers cuff her, still sputtering about regulations. James didn't flinch. He looked her in the eye. You broke your own rules, Karen. You forgot what humanity looks like. When the cruiser pulled away, I finally exhaled. The rain had stopped. The street was quiet again, but not peaceful, just empty. I stared at the splintered wood where the ramp had been, and whispered to the air, she just wanted to come home. And somehow, standing there beside a man who'd fought wars overseas, it felt like this one, the small suburban war, had cost more than any battlefield ever could. If this story hits home, tap like. It's how we remind the world that decency still matters. Subscribe to Karen's Hub for real stories of people who refuse to be silenced. And tell me in the comments, if this happened on your street, what would you have done?